So almost exactly a month later. So this here is kind of like a overview. All right, this one, instead of just testing blood work, testing blood, they also tested my urine, which I don't normally do, which I'm gonna suggest to you guys that you do, and I'm gonna tell you why in a moment. ALT is a little bit elevated at 78. Month before they were not. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to IFBB AMA. Of course, that stands for Ask Me Anything. My name is Centopani, and today we're going to talk blood work because it's massively important, and it's something you guys should be keeping up with. Because I'm someone who practices what he preaches, I thought maybe I'd go over some of my most recent blood work with you guys, talk with you about what might be some of the more important parameters that you want to keep up with, even tell you guys how you might go about doing it, right? Obviously, most of us, when it comes to blood work, we're going to just go see our general practitioner. He's going to prescribe blood work and then receive the results via the doctor within a week or whenever that is. Now, there are several reasons why you may want to get it done yourself, right? There are places where you can go online, you can order your own tests, you can check whatever it is you want. You pay out of pocket, your insurance does not cover it, but you can do it as often as you want. You can check what you want, and one of the cooler things is that it's off the record. Now, why is that significant? Well, if you're somebody who is in the market for insurance, which I happen to find myself in a similar situation fairly recently. I'm pretty heavily insured, right? I have a whole bunch of life insurance. I've seen plenty of guys drop dead prematurely. I've got a family, I've got 2 kids. It's very important to me that if something were to happen to me, there's money there for my kids, that somebody shouldn't have to start a GoFundMe and beg for a couple $100,000. I think currently on the life insurance side of things, I'm good for about $4 million. If I drop dead tomorrow, that money is there, whether it's for my kids' education, just for their general care, there's money there. You're not gonna collect that kind of money on a GoFundMe, and a GoFundMe is taxable. A life insurance policy, the proceeds that are paid out to beneficiaries is 100% tax-free. But that's besides the point. When you go for insurance, okay, they are going to look back throughout your medical history. So times you've been to the doctors, times you've had blood work done, different tests that were run, every time you are prescribed a medication, everything goes on record, goes into a giant database. And when you're applying for insurance, whether it's life insurance, disability insurance, the insurance companies see that. If you have a very extensive medical history, so to speak, that could work against you. So I'm not saying not to go to the doctor. I think it's very important to go to the doctor, but sometimes it's good to keep things off record, right? And if you see something maybe alarming, you want to go bring it up with a doctor, okay, sure. If I could offer you guys any advice, I'll tell you, be careful what you tell doctors. Don't tell them anything that you don't want going on a permanent record, because more than likely, it's gonna. Recently did some blood work. I did it preemptively following up to an application for disability income insurance. Not to bore you guys with details, but this is pretty important stuff, and chances are it's not something that's on your mind. Disability income insurance, what does that mean? If I were to find myself in a position where I could not do my job, okay, and I am insured with disability income insurance, I incur a disability, I will receive a monthly tax-free check for however much coverage I take. So for example, if I take $7,000 or $10,000 of monthly coverage, depending on the type of insurance, there's own occupation and there's any occupation. Most good insurance is own occupation, meaning I cannot do my own occupation. I'm a surgeon, I fuck up my right hand, I can't do my job. That policy will pay $10,000 a month. And I can still go on and get another job, making however much money I want. More oftentimes it's sickness. A lot of us can cite people in our lives who underwent, maybe cancer treatment, and it went on for years, and maybe they found themselves having to go to work every day. Maybe they weren't in the best shape to do so. One of the most important things a person could protect is their income. When it comes to insurances, they're going to only insure people who they think are a good risk, meaning they think you're healthy. So anyways, I was going for an additional amount of disability income insurance. And while I was at it, I figured, hey, you know what? I'm 42 years old. People don't generally get healthier as they get older. I don't necessarily need it, but let me see what the results are. If it's cheap enough, I'll take some more. Just because it's cheap enough, right? What do I see? So I get blood work done on October 5th. Let me pull those results up here. October 5th. So what do I see? Now I get just kind of a comprehensive wellness panel, right? It's gonna test blood lipids, liver and kidney function, just kind of the typical stuff. Order that yourself, it's gonna cost you about $100. You pay for it online, you download the script for it, you walk into whatever testing center is near you, and you hand it to them, and then the results get sent directly to you. It's entirely private. So what do I see? I see, okay, glucose is good, fasting glucose is 93, urea nitrogen, BUN, right, 14, great. ASTs and ALTs, right, liver enzymes. So they're a little bit elevated, that's to be expected, right? I train heavy regularly, and these markers don't necessarily exclusively measure liver damage, but they could be thrown off by other markers, other byproducts getting released into the bloodstream. I know just historically what numbers are normal when I'm training hard. So I see ASTs are 64, ALTs are 98. I'm not worried. My total testosterone, 394. I'm on a very low TRT dose at the moment, so that was to be expected. As we move down the list, I see hemoglobin is a little high, red blood cell count's a little high, hematocrit's a little high. Not alarmingly so, although the hematocrit should be definitely brought down. So should probably be giving blood a little bit more often. RDW, this is the distribution of red blood cells, the variation in their size. So it's just outside of a normal range, nothing major. As we move down to blood lipids, HDL is about 30. Be better if it was above 40, but it's not single digits. Total LDL is about 129. The bad cholesterol, a little bit high in light of some of the things I was doing over the summer to get in good shape. Not super alarming, not the best. And that's that. So this gave me an idea of where I stood so that when I would apply for the insurance, I had an idea of what I was looking at. So let's fast forward to those results. So this was on October 5th, but let's see, November 6th. So almost exactly a month later. So this here is kind of like a overview. All right, this one, instead of just testing blood work, they also tested my urine, which I don't normally do, which I'm gonna suggest to you guys that you do, and I'm gonna tell you why in a moment. Most of the stuff looks good. ALT is a little bit elevated at 78. Month before they were 98, so they dropped about 20 points in a month. ASTs, 55. A month before they were 64, so they also came down a little bit as well. Probably just because maybe I didn't train as much before this test. Urine albumin looks high, and the albumin to creatinine ratio is off. So let's take a look here. This is what the insurance company uses. They have their own parameters, their own range, reference range. So cholesterol, they allow up to 240. Mine was 191. Total cholesterol, HDL plus LDL. My HDL was 36, brought it just into range, although it's at the lower end, but it came up 6 points in a month from 30. If I worked on it, I'm sure I could bring it up significantly more. LDL was 136. They allow up to 200, so I was good there. The ratio was a little bit off, right? So if my HDL was higher, I would have had a better ratio. Triglycerides were 91, so well within range. Come down, blood urea nitrogen, right about at the midpoint, that's good. Creatinine, same thing, midpoint. Now we start testing urine. So protein, yes, there is protein in my urine, which not a great thing. The reference range that the insurance company uses is 0 to about 15, mine is 6. So it's on the lower end of normal, so in their eyes, not problematic. Urine creatinine, 23 milligrams. The reference range is 10 to 300, so it doesn't look bad. But then we see urine albumin, 3.6 milligrams per deciliter, which is high, right? That's outside of range. And what that does is totally throws off this ratio of albumin to creatinine. So although with my blood, creatinine was totally fine, blood urea nitrogen, all that stuff looked good, in a urine test, this was not good because the reference range that it gives for albumin to creatinine ratio is 0 to 28. Mine was 156, which I find confusing because as a ratio, technically, if my creatinine level were higher, that would have brought down the ratio. So this is not something that I understand. Obviously, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a kidney specialist, but I'm going to get an appointment with one and look further into this, right? It's a little bit concerning to me. When it comes to kidney stuff, the number one culprit is high blood pressure, which when I look back throughout the past, well, forever, I never had high blood pressure, even at a high body weight. Want to look further. As a reference, I had blood work from 10 years ago when I took my last insurance policy when my second daughter was born. I took an additional amount of coverage. And I asked the insurance company for those values. And they were almost identical, okay, 6 years ago, which in the eyes of, the insurance company or the medical profession, they were not ideal. But at least they let me know that it has not gotten worse. Outside of that, bilirubin was good. ASTs, ALTs, albumin, blah, blah, blah. Blood glucose. It was a little higher in this one. My other blood glucose came back at 93. This came back at 104, a little high for me. Whatever. Point being here, it's important for you guys to stay on top of this stuff. I would say at least twice a year. If you're not going to the doctor, you should at least order some blood work a couple times a year. You could do it once a quarter. It's totally affordable. It's not stuff that is going to break the bank. It's very important. If you're not seeing a doctor regularly, at least get some blood work done, although you should be seeing a doctor probably at least once a year. Knowing where you stand and maybe sometimes having it off record isn't a bad idea. And to give you an idea, the website that I use, and I have no affiliation with any of them, I use Direct Labs. It's not available in all states. There's other websites available as well. I think even Quest now, Quest Diagnostics. Okay, it looks like New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, you can't order your own, at least with this service. But when I go on here, the most popular test is called a comprehensive wellness profile. That's kind of what I just showed you guys, minus the urine test, which honestly, probably not a bad idea to test your urine, just to make sure, as was the case with me, you don't want protein in your urine. And even though my total level of negative for HIV, that's great. So the amount of protein in my urine was 6 milligrams per deciliter. Now, again, the insurance company gives a reference range of 0 to 15. It was on the lower end of that. I don't think you're supposed to have any protein in your urine, technically. But even though that was well within range, a good amount of it, I guess, was albumin. It was more than it should have been. So like I said, I'm gonna get it looked into. And like I said, the comprehensive wellness profile, $97. And to be able to do it at your convenience, you can set the time, right? You can schedule your own appointment when you want to do it. Once you get the blood work done, it gets sent directly to you. So it's not like you got to go see your doctor, then do the blood work, then go back to your doctor. So like it's all these appointments and it's certainly not very efficient. So, but if you're doing this regularly and something looks off, then, if it's between a yearly visit with your doctor, then you could see, and if something looks bad, and hey, maybe you want to schedule an appointment. But I can't emphasize enough, you guys, a lot of you watching this are probably young. You probably feel pretty invincible. Your health isn't something that is super important to you. Obviously, you want to be healthy. You don't want to fucking die. But you don't realize necessarily just how fragile life is. And when you get older, you start seeing people around you have health issues. It can be a hell of a thing. Look at Steve Jobs. There's a guy who had all the money in the world. Didn't matter. Still couldn't regain his health. Fucking guy died young, cancer. So guys, please stay on top of your stuff. When you're bodybuilding and you are pushing your body really hard, probably doing some things you shouldn't do, it's all the more reason to keep an eye on this stuff because you don't want to just be around for a good time. You do want to be around for a long time. As you get older, you're probably going to have kids. You're going to want to have grandkids. You're going to want to be here as long as possible. So guys, please stay on top of your blood work. Stay on top of your health. Until next time, I'll see you.